Right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. One Time Ministry. So this is uh, mental minute check-in for our children, everyone. This is a topic that I was led to talk about. I've been talking about checking our babies for the last month or so, but this is now something that I'm really pushing forward to through the entire year. Started June the 6th, I believe, and we're going to continue this movement every Sunday, but normally I'm on at 6 p.m. On today, I'm on a little bit earlier than normal. All right, so the video that you see, most of you see the video of the impact of the shooting of the youth mental health and the shooting that took part in Texas. Texas. I'm going to share this video with you very quickly. I'm going to mute my microphone so you can watch it. Brief content, and I have a few exercises I want to share with our children as well as our youth.
We have new chilling photos of children fleeing the mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in Texas on Tuesday. Back in 2020, firearms overtook car accidents as the leading cause of death for children and teenagers in America. The breakdown of those numbers reveals a mental health crisis in this country. According to an analysis of Axios of CDC data, 30% of the children up to the age of 19 killed by guns in 2020, they died by suicide. So let's discuss. Joining us tonight is one of the nation's leading child psychiatrists, Dr. Harold Koplowitz. He's the president of the Child Mind Institute, which is dedicated to transforming mental health care for children around the world. Doctor, talk to us about the impact gun violence is having on young Americans.
I think it's really important for us to look at the whole picture. So gun violence is not only about the tragic deaths, but it's also about the trauma that occurs afterwards. We know that kids who witness these kinds of events have a traumatic response. They have more stress, they have more difficulty with sleep, it happens acutely, and sometimes a month later, it can turn into post-traumatic stress disorder, which really can be turned into a very significant psychiatric disorder, which is going to affect academic functioning and social life and the ability to sleep, eat, and participate in the world. But we also have some real facts. We know that if you are about 5 blocks away from where a gun violence episode has occurred, it's going to have an effect on you. We also know that gun violence affects kids of color and kids of poverty significantly more than the rest of the population. These are basic facts that we have to start to think about. And part of that is that people who can't safely own guns shouldn't be sold guns. And that really is the bottom line, because as long as we're giving guns to inappropriate individuals, you will have lots more gun violence. In fact, we know that states that have more safety gun rules have less deaths. This is really so black and white that it's disturbing that we are not taking action.
We're not seeing our government do anything. And while the government's doing nothing, the internet is hard at work, in many cases, making our kids more isolated and in some cases radicalized. I want to share a bit from my colleague, Jake Ward, who's an NBC technology correspondent, speaking specifically on the impact the internet is having on our kids. Watch this.
The research has shown that for a child isolated from their family or their community in this nation and at this time, social media and the internet is a way for them to, in some cases, find community, find resources, but in the darkest possible circumstances, it's a place for them to find conspiracy theories, ideology, communities of like-minded people who might inspire them in some cases to take what are some very dark thoughts and carry them into some course of action.
Harold, how do we deal with this?
So, Stephanie, we knew that before COVID, the rate of suicide attempts and suicide completion among kids between the ages of 10 and 24 jumped by almost 50% in the 10 years before COVID hit. Now, we can't know for sure that the internet or social media was the cause, but there is definitely a correlation. We also know that problematic internet usage, where we have kids who use social media 8 to 10 hours a day, if they have an underlying disorder like ADHD or depression, that usage is toxic. It's almost like marijuana to kids who have anxiety disorders that produce panic attacks. So if you're a parent of a child that has ADHD or depression, or you have a child who seems more isolated, more socially uncomfortable, then social media and the internet can be a dangerous place.
Nicole, Sandy Hook Promise teaches the recognition and intervention techniques for kids and teens who might be socially isolated or at risk. Help us understand what that looks like, because after a shooting like this, you always hear, what were the signs? You know, could we have seen this coming?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's so much evidence to point out that most shootings and most suicides, there are signs given off beforehand. It's just sometimes we don't always know what it is we're seeing and how to identify and what action to take. So that's what we teach kids and the adults around them around the country, how to recognize those signs, everything from bullying and isolation up through to cutting, dating violence, substance abuse through to suicide and homicide, and then how to talk to a trusted adult. But, you know, we can train every single kid in the country eventually, I hope, but we still require that behavioral change for everyone to lean in and be those upstanders, because this is about kids taking control of their own safety and their own community, which I would imagine would be a positive benefit to their mental health and wellness.
Matt, do you believe our lawmakers are really looking for solutions? Because in the last few days, when Republicans keep talking about mental health and school security, many of these same Republicans are voting against funding schools and funding mental health education.
Well, what I find amazing is they're looking at everything but the problem. I mean, they're looking at everything. They're pointing out everything. They're pointing out, well, it's because of video games, or it's because of this, it's because of this. And you're like, there's a gun sitting in the middle of the room. And then they go, no, it's because of this, because it's, and they just keep stepping over the gun that's lying in the middle of the room. That's the biggest part of the problem in this. That's one part of it. And the hypocrisy when they talk about mental health problems is amazing to me. Greg Abbott said that yesterday. Greg Abbott said, we have a mental health, we got to deal with the mental health. I 100% agree with that. Greg Abbott cut $200 million out of the Texas budget for mental health 60 days ago. So there was a budget related to help people and kids with mental health. He cut it by almost $250 million 2 months ago. And so I think they're doing everything possible to distract from the fundamental problem, which is access to guns by people that shouldn't have guns. That's the fundamental problem. And everything else they point to is a distraction from what's sitting in the middle of the room.
Then, Harold, as parents, how do we understand when it is a situation where maybe our own children, our teens are suffering? I mean, coming out of COVID, everybody's suffering.
Right. Well, I think we should step back for a second and know that every country in the world has children and has adults with mental health problems. And only the United States has these mass shootings and this remarkable gun violence. So as someone who knows something about the teenage brain, there's a reason we don't let kids in the United States drink until they're 21. There's a reason why Hertz and Avis and all the car rentals don't let you rent a car until you're 25, because somehow they figured out that between 18 and 25, you're going to have a lot more car accidents. You're less likely to wear a seatbelt, that your brain isn't fully developed. It seems outrageous to me that we don't let a kid drink, but an 18-year-old can buy an assault weapon. That doesn't make logical sense. And so when something isn't logical, something else is taking over. Is there some other influence that is making Republicans, senators, conservative senators not be sensible? Because I assure you, there isn't a parent out there, no matter how they're voting, that does not want to put an assault weapon into an 18-year-old's hand or into a criminal's hand or into someone who has a history of erratic or violent behavior. That's the part as a parent that really is upsetting. And as a child psychiatrist, I feel I'm scapegoated. For the last 25 years, we've been having the same discussion. I'm all in favor of having more mental health services for children and teenagers in the United States. We have a shortage of mental health professionals, and it's worse now since COVID, but that's not what's causing these school shootings and this gun violence.
Nicole, I know we're out of time, but I see you nodding your head. When we have a shooting like we had this week or last week in Buffalo, do you ever question the work you're doing with Sandy Hook Promise? Do you ever wonder, is it making an impact? Because things don't seem to change.
No, I never question it because I know for a fact we're having an impact. I know how many lives we've saved. I know how many school shootings we've averted. And I know it's a solution and a model that absolutely works and just needs to be scaled. But it's about that. It's about getting that teaching out to more people. Can't prevent everything, but we can certainly decrease the numbers significantly.
Thank you so much. Nicole, Matthew, don't go anywhere. Dr. Harold Koplowitz, thank you so much. You always make us smarter every time you're here.
All right, On Time Ministries. So I'm sharing this video with you all today to make you aware of what we're facing here. We're facing a lot in terms of our youth and whatnot. And it's just so much to deal with. And as we are rolling into the summertime, everybody, there's a few things I want to share with you all before I end this live. This was heavy. I let the experts talk to you today to kind of keep Pastor kind of quiet today. Not in a bad way, but just to hear what their perspective of what this looks like. Right. So here's 4 mindful activities exercise for kids. The first one is, give me a second. Mindful posing jar. One easy way for children to dip their toes into mindfulness is through body posing. To get your kids excited, telling them, I'm gonna give you one, and I'm gonna actually share this article in the comment section of this live. I'm gonna do the same thing for Instagram as well. To get your kids excited and tell them that doing fun poses can help them feel strong and brave and happy. Have the kids go somewhere quiet and familiar, a place they feel safe. Next, tell them to try the following poses: the Superman pose, the Wonder Woman pose, something that kind of keep their mind occupied. So I gave you one. I'm going to actually share this link when I'm done with this live. So I want to give you 2 for our teenagers. All right. When you are trying to reach your children or young clients about mindfulness and benefits, we recommend you begin with a few things. Make sure they are ready to give mindful as a try. If they are full of energy and itching to run and play, it may not be the best time for practicing mindfulness. If they can't stay still, that would be a good time. The second thing is explain what mindfulness is and what it is not. Give examples of what seems similar to mindfulness but is not. Introspection or chasing thoughts down the rabbit hole versus listening to our bodies. Third, say it is an age-appropriate way with words they will understand. 4, offer to practice mindfulness with them. Sometimes having a model makes all the difference. Assure them that it is okay to get off track and how to gently guide themselves back to mindfulness when they realize they lost focus. Number 6. Finish the practice by doing something they enjoy with them to ensure they have a positive experience. So mindfulness is used for positive situations only. Practice mindfulness yourself. Create a daily routine for the children. Prepare the environment. Involve the children in the decision-making process. Share your experience of mindfulness and encourage the children to share their experience of mindfulness. All right. Mindfulness is something that they should practice, a daily routine. And I want to give you the definition of mindfulness so you can have a better understanding of it, everybody. I'm getting ready to actually leave in a few minutes. The quality of the state of being conscious and aware of something. A mental state achieved by focusing on one's awareness on the present moment, while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and body sensitivities using a therapeutic technique. Everyone. All right. So I'm going to break it down for you. Being aware of what you're doing, understanding what you're doing, and not fooling around, but taking consideration and being very serious about what you're doing in a positive aspect, where you have to really be focused on what the objective is. So this is a very good, useful tool, and I'm going to share these articles in the comment section of this live, everyone. And I'm going to actually share this article on Instagram as well, everyone. So I love you all. God bless you. Have an amazing and a safe Sunday. Don't forget there will be no Bible study on One Time Ministry platform. However, Pastor will have flyers of what each ministry will be studying by the end of the day. So I have scriptures that you will be studying in Joshua chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, Leviticus chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, Psalms chapter 12, chapter 13, 14. So I will share those throughout the social media platforms. So make sure you do these assignments each week. So when we come back in the month of July, we'll be able to talk about these topics in the men's ministry as well as the youth, as well as the young men's ministry, women's ministry, young ladies, women's, as well as on-time ministry, everyone. All right, I love you all. We'll be back here on next Sunday to talk about more about our youth and how they are impacted by their mental health and how many things that can help them get through this. All right, everybody, I love you. Everybody, I love you. Have an amazing week. God bless you.